So it was a few months ago that a couple of our staff and I were having a coffee meeting with this person named Ashley Ward. And we were talking about some really interesting things that we want to do as an organization. We want to start a next-gen advisory board for the up-and-coming generations to get involved in some leadership capacities with us. And Ashley is one of those people that is really an expert in that field as well. So we were having coffee, and I'm listening to Ashley tell some of her story. And I just have this voice inside of me that says, season of hope, season of hope. And I'm like, what do you mean season of hope? I'm supposed to be engaging about a new next-gen board, season of hope. And finally I caught on because I'm Dutch, so it takes me a while, have to get through here. And I'm like, oh, because we just had a change in our season of hope speaker and we don't know what we're going to do. So I'm really glad that I didn't freak her out, because at the end of this coffee, we stand up and we're putting our coffee away, and I'm like, hey, do you do public speaking? And she kind of looks at me and says, yeah. And I'm like, great. Season of Hope event, we need a keynote speaker, and I don't want to make this really weird or anything, but I'm pretty sure God's telling me to ask you. So what do you think? And who can say no to that? So not to me, but to the God part. So we started talking about it, and Ashley agreed to be our Season of Hope speaker. So I want to talk a little bit about Ashley. I usually don't use notes, but I have notes on this one. Ashley is the founder and CEO of JW Talent Solutions, which is a national executive recruiting and talent strategy firm. She founded JW Talent Solutions in 2017 with a mission to start a philanthropic business that gives 10% of its profit to nonprofits in the community. She received a bachelor's degree in psychology and advanced through graduate coursework in counseling and human behavioral studies. She's on many boards. She's on the Wedgwood board most recently. She's a proud recipient of a whole paragraph of awards. And she's an advocate, a successful entrepreneur, and she's my friend, which should surprise everyone. She's my friend. But I am so excited that Ashley has agreed to come up and share a bit of her story, because as you listen to her story parallels the stories of so many of the guests that we serve. So would you please help me give a warm welcome to Ashley Ward.
I wrote down for Dennis to call me his friend, so you got that part right, Dennis. In the tapestry of life, adversity often weaves its web, challenging our strength and testing our resolve. But amidst the trials and tribulations, there is a beacon that shines brighter than despair. And that beacon is hope. If you look up the word hope in a dictionary, it will tell you that hope is a feeling of desire or the want for something to happen or to be the case. I believe hope is not merely a wishful thought, no. Hope is an action word. It's a force that propels us forward even in the darkest of times. Through the turbulences that have crossed my path, I've learned that hope is the relentless pursuit of better days. It's the courage to stand up in the face of adversity and to say, I will not be defined by my circumstances. My personal journey has been painted with many challenges that could have easily quenched my flame of hope. Yet time and time again, I've witnessed the power of hope in action. It was the Holy Spirit whispering in my ear, urging me to take that first step, to reach out for support, and to strive for change. Because adversity does not define us. It challenges us to rise above our circumstances. As we gather here tonight for this beautiful event, let us remember that the very act of gathering is a testament to the power of hope in action. At Mel Trotter Ministries, each story shared, each life transformed is a testament to the spirit that rises above adversity. Hope is a call to action, an invitation to step into the arena of our own lives and to seize control of our narrative. My goal is for all of us in this room to walk away tonight united with the shared belief that hope is not something we simply hold on to. Hope is something we embody. May my personal journey let us embrace hope as an action word tonight, a catalyst for change, and a beacon that guides us through the darkness, lighting the path to a brighter tomorrow. My journey began in a small trailer park right behind this motel. I actually spent some of my childhood staying in this motel. You may or may not know the place, right here in Grand Rapids in our own backyard. Unfortunately, it's a place where dreams often seem distant and opportunities appear far out of reach for those who live there. I grew up surrounded by drug users, alcoholics, rapists, and struggling families just trying to get by. I grew up in a blue-collar household riddled by generational trauma, abuse, alcoholism, and abandonment. The theme words through my childhood included fear, shame, and estrangement. One of my very first childhood memories, I woke up in the pitch black in a dentist chair. Sounds confusing, right? Like the start of a bad dream or a horror film. My first childhood memory, waking up in the dark in a dentist chair, and I was confused. I was afraid. I felt lonely. What was I doing here? And so I could just barely make out the door frame across the room in the dentist office I was in alone in the dark. And so I cautiously got up and tiptoed over to the door and creaked it open cautiously. And of course, the beaming fluorescent lights right in my face from the hallway. And it felt eerie. I wasn't quite sure what I was doing there. So I started cautiously making my way down the hall, checking room to room, of course, calling for my mom, as a terrified child would do when they're alone and afraid. And I just started to hear a very faint, familiar noise from down the hall. So that's the direction I headed, and peeked my head into the lobby of the dentist's office, and there was my mother. She was vacuuming the dentist's office, where she worked third shift just to make ends meet, which meant I spent a lot of nights sleeping in a dentist chair. And for me, this was a prime example of what work ethic should look like. And for me, it was the tip of the iceberg to see hope put into action. It was beautiful, actually. I often somewhat joke that I was born with angst. Angst. What is angst? Angst is a feeling of unease and emotional turmoil, a feeling of being alienated or disconnected from the world around you. I think Taylor Swift hit the nail on the head with her song Anti-Hero. It's me, hi, I'm the problem. That is why now my life's mission is so focused on forming connection. 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 It's quite the dichotomy coming from angst, right? It's ironic how our deepest wounds can often motivate us to seek the opposite of what we're used to. And for me, that was going from angst to connection. And that is what I strive for every single day. It was not an easy journey living with such deep discontent naturally and feeling like I was never a real part of the world growing up. I remember watching people from afar. I would see them enjoying life. I would see them enjoying each other's company. I would see them laughing. And it just felt so foreign to me. And I think Sylvia Plath described it accurately when she wrote, "Wherever I sat, whether on the deck of a ship or a street cafe in Paris, I was stuck, trapped under the same glass bell jar." To the person stuck under the bell jar, the world itself is a cruel dream. And to me, angst is being described as being trapped under that glass bell jar and never feeling like you're able to find your way out. Eventually, my angst evolved into anger, my anger into sadness, and my sadness into depression. And by a very young age, depression cast a very dark shadow over my life. By the age of 11, I was prescribed to my first psychiatric drug. Developing brains on psychiatric drugs, oftentimes not a good recipe for success. It was interesting because when one psychiatric drug presented a negative side effect, another psychiatric drug would be added to counteract the negative side effect, and the cycle repeated. And before you knew it, I was taking 8 psychiatric drugs by the time I was 15. These medications completely stripped me of my personality. Those who know me in this room know I kind of have a big personality. They stripped me of my ability to even feel. I felt nothing. I felt dead inside. And I wanted so badly at the time to put an end to it. It was at the age of 15 when I first attempted to commit suicide. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember sitting in my room with a prescription bottle of sleeping pills in hand, just wanting to end my life so badly. I remember staring out my bedroom window, feeling nothing. And for me, I remember wanting so badly just to be with Jesus in heaven. I remember looking out my bedroom window into the woods, and there was a blanket of leaves on the forest floor. And I remember thinking, maybe, just maybe, if I can go bury myself under those leaves, I can be absorbed into the earth and be forgotten forever. And at the time, that's all I wanted. I swallowed the bottle of pills. I got into bed, and I waited to die. 30 seconds passing felt like 10 years. How long would this take? How long do I have to lay here? I began panicking. And that is the moment God's voice said, "Get help." And I am so thankful that I did. From there, I spent some time in psychiatric care. I relied heavily on my Bible. I attended support groups where I was regularly mistaken as the college intern and asked to take notes for the group, to which I obliged because I was a little rebellious and just trying to add a little spice to my day. But needless to say, it was a tremendous growth and learning experience for me. And it was hope in action. Throughout my teenage years, I wrestled with numerous challenges. I found myself at a runaway shelter where they taught me the fine art of floor mopping. At the age of 16, I dropped out of high school and got a full-time job. I had this strong, burning desire to earn a living for myself because I knew no one else was going to do it for me. I believed God had a plan for me, and I held strong to my faith. I got a full-time job at a coffee shop working Monday through Friday from 5 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon while my friends attended high school. I eventually got my GED and moved into my own apartment living alone. And to make ends meet, I juggled 3 different jobs and learned how to pay bills. I would then cry on the kitchen floor when I realized I still couldn't afford said bills. And that's when it dawned on me, I did not want to keep living a life in struggle. I wanted to break the cycle of hardship. Adversity does not define us. It challenges us to rise above our circumstances, and that is hope in action. So I observed and studied people who appeared to not be living in a state of survival mode. What did they do differently? What did they possess? How did they seemingly have things that could not be taken away from them? How are they so content? The feeling of contentment felt completely foreign to me. So I did notice as I studied and encountered people who seemed to have success, that they had a commonality. They deeply valued education. Education. I learned that education, the very nature of learning, is one thing in this lifetime that no one can take away from me, that no one can take away from any of us. Whether it's a formal education, or on-the-job training, or simply learning a new skill, the very act of learning leads to better cognitive ability, better health and well-being, and even increased civic and community engagement. The feeling of belongingness, education, is powerful. That is exactly why programs like Mel Trotter Ministries' Next Steps program is so critical in our community. They teach our at-risk neighbors on-the-job training, skilled trades, and hands-on skills that, guess what? No one can ever take away from them. This is the critical work that we're doing to fix a broken system, and this is the work you are supporting when you support Mel Trotter Ministries. I decided to lean into my own advice and began deeply valuing education. After receiving my GED, I pursued my bachelor's degree from Cornerstone University. Shout out to Dennis, also his alma mater. I was able to take classes in the evening so that I could work full-time. Gaining an education, learning skills I could take with me for years to come, started enhancing my confidence and helped me feel a sense of belonging. It was hope in action. But my struggles were far from over when I found myself in an abusive relationship. The red flags started slowly over the course of several months, and before I even realized it, I was trapped in the cycle of abuse. One of the most distressing parts for me was that I was perpetuating a painful legacy, reenacting the patterns I had witnessed and that had afflicted my family for generations. I believed that abuse was synonymous with love. It stripped me of my confidence, my freedom, and my voice. When my daughter entered the world, I knew that I could not allow her to grow up thinking that this was an accurate portrayal of love. So I started over. I broke the cycle. Thank you. I slowly picked up the pieces. I leaned on our community for support, and I began to regain my confidence to blaze a new trail. A domestic violence agency kindly paid for me to get an apartment for 6 months while I rebuilt my life. And guess what? During that time, I lived next door to Mel Trotter Ministries. I don't think I shared this with you, Dennis. Across the street from my apartment with my 2-year-old daughter, I could see the families in the windows of Mel Trotter Ministries calling that home for that night. Seeing the children put their faces on the glass and wave across the street to my daughter and watching her wave back is heart-shattering. And my daughter, to her, those are our neighbors. Those are our friends. Those are our community members. And it made me realize we have a lot of work to do in this community that we can do together. Breaking the cycle of abuse was not the easy path. Living paycheck to paycheck, relying on government funding for food, humbling myself to receive help from local nonprofits and church support. It took courage, it took perseverance, and it took me reclaiming my voice. Thank God that I did. It was a turning point for me, the spark that ignited my journey to create the life I had always dreamt of. You see, life often presents us with double binds, as my therapist who's here tonight would tell me. Situations where we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, where you feel stuck in those situations. So I'm choosing to view the world as a place of endless possibilities where win-win outcomes are actually attainable. I position myself to win and not to fail because my outlook is, I've started with nothing. I'm comfortable with nothing, so I have nothing to lose, not really. You know why? I have the love of Jesus Christ, and for me, that has always been enough. We are in a world of abundance when we put hope into action. I've always believed that when people find what they're truly passionate about and they do that and they stick with that, they can create beautiful things. And for me, my life's work is fostering connection with people. I felt so isolated and disconnected as a child from peers, from friends, from my parents, from the world around me. Connection is what I crave most of all and what I believe to be my God-given talent and ability, forging connections. I've used this talent in my executive recruiting career and ultimately founded a recruiting firm with a very mission-centric business model called W Talent Solutions. My business, W Talent Solutions, gives back 10% of our profit to nonprofits that have played a critical role in my personal journey. And what's even more beautiful is seeing my team, who's also here tonight, get involved and give back their time to participate in volunteering at these same nonprofits. Accumulatively last year, we volunteered as a team 225 hours back to organizations in Grand Rapids that are doing the most critical work in our community, organizations like Mel Trotter Ministries. I view my life's adversities as God's internships. My internships. I needed to go through those to be here tonight. God knew exactly what I needed to endure to prepare me to help countless of people now and well into my future. We all experience his internships. Just got to open your eyes to them. He knew the internships I needed to face to rise to the occasion, especially for all of the roles that I play in my life. Aside from being the CEO of W Talent Solutions, I am a role model for my daughter. I am a wife. I am a friend, an employer, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a community advocate, a 3-time honoree of Crane's 40 Under 40. And most importantly, I'm a child of God. Embarking on my journey of healing has not been easy, and it's still a continuous process. The commonality among human beings is that we all feel pain, but it's how we react to that pain that determines our outcomes. How I decided to react to my pain is the power of hope and action, because adversity does not define us. It challenges us to rise above our circumstances. But why did I succeed in the face of adversity when others seemed to struggle? The answer lies in humility, tenacity, the power of vulnerability, and the willingness to put myself out there. And last but not least, science. Yes, science actually plays a role because adversity can run in our blood. Generational trauma is a real force. Trauma is etched into our cells and passed down through generations, locking us into the same patterns and cycles. Even our cells bear the scars of our struggles. Trauma and adversity manifests at a cellular level. Take a look between samples of unhealthy blood cell samples and healthy blood cell samples. It's science. You'll see the unhealthy sample, which I'm sure you could point out. It has mutiny, it has infection, it has trauma etched into the cells. And the slide you see from the same patient with healthy cell samples, this takes dedication, time, effort, commitment to change cells this radically, and it takes time. You'll see the next slide here. This is my blood cell sample. Pretty interesting. This was taken a couple months ago, so present day-ish. And my blood's come a long way. Let's just say that. But it still has a lot of work to be done there for healing. You'll see some of my cells are lacking symmetry and shape and size. Apparently that's pretty important for blood cells. And you'll also see that some of my cells have inner circles within them. That's infection, that's trauma that needs to be healed. Trauma manifests at a cellular level. I still have a long way to go. Trauma is in my blood, and as mothers with our babies spending 9 months in the womb, we pass these cells down to our children and our children's children. The good news is, cells can be healed. The trauma in our cells can be repaired. Addressing the deep-rooted trauma within one's mind, body, and spirit demands unwavering commitment, dedication, and frankly, financial means and resources. For countless individuals trapped in these cycles, the stark reality is they do not have the resources to be able to find sustainable healing. My path to healing encompasses various techniques, some of which are invaluable and free, like prayer and meditation. Yet there are other essential healing methods I consistently embrace that come with a substantial annual cost. We're talking thousands of dollars. It's a reminder that healing often demands not only time and effort, but financial resources. My personal healing journey has been multifaceted, and it includes modalities such as talk therapy, life coaching, a yoga membership, a gym membership, organic food, specialty dieting, sound therapy, neurofeedback, Feldenkrais, acupressure, craniosacral therapy, naturopathic supplements, essential oils, massage therapy, journaling, art, even music requires financial means or resources. Healing is not equitable. We need to work to change this through organizations that support those who need healing the most. Organizations like Mel Trotter Ministries. Access to healing should be a right and not a privilege. People who are stuck in the cycle of adversity are in a constant state of survival mode. Based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, these individuals are just trying to get their basic needs met. They might not know where their next meal is going to come from, let alone be able to focus on self-actualization. So we need to meet them where they're at. It's our job as self-actualized beings to help pull them up into belongingness. They deserve love, dignity, kindness, respect. These should be basic human rights, and this is the work being done by Mel Trotter Ministries. They extend the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. Escaping homelessness in my life was a work of God. It's a testament to the belief that it really can happen to anyone before we even realize it. I have a special friend here tonight, a friend who embodies resilience and hope. His journey is a reminder that homelessness can happen to anyone. Let me share with you Sonny's story. Sonny's tough journey began in the rough streets of Chicago during his childhood. He grew up in a neighborhood deeply involved in gang life, drugs, and violence. His family had a strong sense of loyalty, even if it meant putting their lives on the line or resorting to violence to protect themselves or one another. Sonny ended up in the gang alongside his cousins and family members. He found himself dealing drugs and carrying weapons. It was a common dream for young boys in his situation to want to achieve financial success and leadership ability, and that meant joining the gang. Gang conflicts escalated, turning the streets that Sonny called home into a battleground. He lost loved ones, friends, and family members to shootings. Sonny himself has been shot multiple times. Sonny found himself in and out of jail. However, he did end up getting his GED and becoming certified as an emergency medical technician. He wanted more for his life. Sonny had hope. Eventually, though, his consequences from his accumulative actions caught up with him, leading to a 15-year prison sentence, which Sonny served gracefully. I met Sonny not long after that prison sentence in a grocery store parking lot. Sonny's van was broken down, and my friend and I stopped to help him and to talk to him and to give him grace. And I'm so happy that I did. It was then that I learned that Sonny was living out of his van. So what did I do? I gave him my business card, determined to help him find work. Sonny has often referred to me as his guardian angel. Over the course of the past 18 months since we've met, Sonny and I have become friends. I help Sonny where and how I can, even if it's simply being a supporter and a cheerleader for him. Sonny is on the rise. He's building a life for himself here in Michigan and has landed a steady job and income. He still has many hurdles that he will need to overcome. The biggest challenges include finding sustainable housing and navigating society's stigmatizations. Sonny's past adversities do not define him, but his passion and sense of hope for the future absolutely do. His dream is to become an entrepreneur and to start a business, and I have no doubt in my mind that he'll be successful. He is articulate, passionate, resilient, determined, and tenacious, the very recipe of a successful entrepreneur. Sonny wrote me a letter recently to describe his tumultuous life story, ending with how he and I met. And the conclusion of his letter goes like this: I was never looking for a handout. I just needed a hand up. It has been through hope that I am able to start getting my life back on track. I am proud to call Sonny my friend. Sonny, do you mind standing up so we can give you a round of applause? My story, Sonny's story, and stories of countless others are interconnected. They remind us that hope in action is a force that can lift us from the darkest of depths, that compassion and kindness can bridge the gaps of understanding, and that the simple act of asking for help can be a lifeline. Unfortunately, not everyone can or knows how to ask for help when they need it most. But that's where we come into the equation, the wonderful people in this room tonight. The most reassuring words I have ever heard when I was at my lowest point were these: I am with you in the trenches. I am with you in the trenches. It was one of my college professors who told me that, and he never gave me half-hearted support. He met me exactly where I was, in the trenches. I met Sonny exactly where he was, in the trenches. God meets us exactly where we're at, in the trenches. Now I'm here to challenge each of you tonight. Help me meet those who need us most, in their trenches. Collectively, we have the power to come alongside Mel Trotter Ministries, to lift them up above the trenches. In closing, I want to leave you with this thought. Hope is not just a wish. It's an action, a force that drives us to overcome adversity, to connect with one another, and to build a brighter future, Together, we can be the change makers, the architects of a more compassionate world, and the beacons of hope. Thank you.